Life as a Halo fan is tough. As soon as you get positive news, the community is thrown into another debate around a controversial topic. This time it's Playable Elites, and the announcement that they won't feature in Halo Infinite, at least for the time being. Putting the gravity of the situation aside, it's been quite funny to see the community react to this, both sides throwing out sweeping statements like they were fragging an objective. I want to have a more neutral discussion, one however that eventually favours the argument for Playable Elites, and acknowledges their place in the series. Combat Evolved's customization was bare bones, simply a few colour options for your Spartan and well, everyone had the same Spartan. Halo 2 was similar, except now we could choose to play as an elite. This choice would be seen both in multiplayer and in custom games. Halo 3 launched with the introduction of armor customization, and elites weren't exempt from this. Halo Reach gave us the pinnacle of Halo's character customization. However, for elites, the choices were limited to preset options. A slight downgrade, but there were still some choices there for players. Then we get to Halo 4 and elites are no longer playable. At all. Okay. So this pissed a lot of people off at the time, amongst other things. Then we get to Halo 5 and still no playable elites. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to think that 343 have a thing against playable elites. In the last week or so, we got confirmation they won't be present, at least initially, in Halo Infinite. Let's listen to the full quote from lead sandbox designer Quinn Del Hoyo.
Will there be playable elites in Halo Infinite?
Okay, that's another big question. You know, similar to the last answer, no, we're not currently planning on supporting elites as a playable character in Infinite. And the reason is, you know, this is a Master Chief story and a Spartan story, especially in multiplayer. We want to make sure that we focus on how Spartans battle against each other and that it feels fair and it's competitive, it's balanced. And, you know, we love elites, but never say never. Maybe we'll see that one day, but right now the current plan is you're going to be playing Spartans.
So what Quinn has said here is two things. One, only Spartans belong in multiplayer. I believe he's saying this for immersion and perhaps even lore purposes, which I understand. I mean, let's face it, having say 2 out of the 8 players in a match dressed up as elites is a little out of place. 2, elites would potentially mess with the competitive aspect of the game. This is true, and actually I'm surprised this wasn't mentioned enough in previous games. Elites are naturally taller than Spartans, so to accommodate that you'll either have to give elites a bigger hitbox, or shrink them down to a Spartan-sized hitbox, which might look awkward. What Quinn has failed to mention, and what has annoyed many people, is where elites are used outside of multiplayer. I'll be completely honest, I'm in favour of no playable elites in multiplayer. However, there is very much the argument to allow players to use elites in custom games and Forge. And considering the growing presence of the Banished, we could even include brutes in that too. The reason why boils down to the main motivation behind fans' desire to play as elites: content creation. Back in the day, machinimas, as they were known as, were hugely popular in the Halo community. The classic example always being red versus blue. Playable elites allowed these content creators to use elites both narratively and functionally in their storytelling. This is clear to see if you look at the decline of machinimas since Halo 4, and how all of them can't utilize elites in their stories because, well, they can't use them in-game. Right now, it's a small community, I get that. But with Halo Infinite likely to be the biggest launch in the franchise's history, 343 needs to cater towards all aspects of their community. And the reason people are so vocal about this is because, well, we've had multiple Halo games with this feature. If we hadn't, this would be a wishlist request. One of those you pray the developer throws in, but understand that realistically, it won't happen. Adding playable elites is not a simple task, of course. You'll need to create a new heads-up display, animations, voice lines, hitboxes, etc, etc. Yet it concerns me that 343 seemingly don't have the time to do all this, considering Bungie went steps further with armor customization for elites back in 2007, and with at least 1 year less development time. The reality is that playable elites won't make or break Halo Infinite. They won't get mentioned in the IGN review, and to be honest, they'll get swept under the carpet if Infinite is a great game. That doesn't take away from its importance, however, and unfortunately a section of our community has been left disappointed and neglected by this news. But as Quinn said, never say never, and fingers crossed this decision is reverted in the near future.